Back in 2012, when Mercedes-Benz launched the third generation A Class, it had everybody's attention. Clearly, someone in Stuttgart must have realized, unless younger people start driving cars with a star on the bonnet, Mercedes will have to start making mobility scooters. Third generation A Class, along with other Mercedes compact models, sold almost 3 million units. To put it into perspective, since the first A Class debuted in 1997, Mercedes sold around 6 million compact models. The average age of a European A Class driver dropped 10 years, and in 2017, over 60% of A Class clients previously drove cars from competing brands. Since Mercedes got it more or less right the first time, the designers had to go easy with the changes so as not to overdo the fourth generation A Class. At first glance, the car looks similar. Perhaps the headlights are now slightly narrower and the bonnet is flat. These changes are the easiest to spot. However, the new A Class is now also bigger, especially in length. Additional 12 centimeters mean there is now more space in the boot, almost 30 liters more. At 370 liters, the boot is still 10 liters smaller than in Volkswagen Golf and 30 liters smaller than in Peugeot 308. But at least the boot aperture is now 20 centimeters wider, making it easier to load stuff. Mercedes A Class is now 6 millimeters taller, which I don't think is going to be enough to improve getting in the back situation, but let's see. Okay, so once we get in, it's actually quite good. There is good headroom, decent legroom on 175 centimeters tall. There are a couple of nets here, pockets like this in the backs of the seats. There is a little cubby for, I don't know, something that's going to rattle like coins. And there are two USB-C ports, which means we now have to start carrying adapters. But one day we will all switch to USB-C and the world will be a wonderful place again. Now, in the middle, there's a tunnel, obviously, so it's more of a 4-person than a 5-person car, even though it's registered for 5 people. The middle seat is, come on, it's just for kids. There is an armrest with a couple of cup holders. And now, under normal circumstances, the backrest split 60-40. In this one, we have an optional 40-20-40 split, so you can carry some longer items. So that's good. However, the really cool stuff is in the front. Let's go. Okay guys, so the front is where the stuff is happening. Let me just put the car on and turn off the radio before YouTube cuts in. Let's get rid of this, let's get rid of that. Okay, so let's just look at the whole thing. It looks money. I love the turbine-like air vents, and let me just turn down the air conditioning because they are making a bit of noise. Now see, this is really nice. There is ambient lighting even on these turbine knobs, let's call them, or whatever you want to call them, wings, propellers, etc. But this is nothing. Okay, the AC panel is down here. There's a place for your smartphone down here, a couple of cup holders, a touchpad, we'll get to that in a moment, and some storage under the armrest with USB-C ports, and there are more USB-C ports down here, and some storage here, and I like the way there is this kind of step here. It's just nicely made, okay? But the big news here is the MBUX, Mercedes-Benz User Experience Infotainment System. Now, it's, as you can see, there are 2 screens. It's divided into 2 screens. You have one here, which is all about your driving, and the other one, which is all about the, let's say, infotainment, comfort, etc. Now, in order to
manipulate or use these screens to personalize them, you can use these little touchpads which are here, and then you can configure the stuff which is either in the middle or on the sides, or you can use it to configure your head-up display as well if you go up. And this is really pretty cool. You can have the map displayed all across the screen, the instrument binnacle. It's not even an instrument binnacle, I don't know what to call it these days. So anyway, you can have you can configure all that, and then you have this screen which you can control either with a little touchpad and a couple of buttons here, or you can control it with the touchpad which is down here, because why not, or you can use a touch screen as well. So for example, there is comfort, and this car has, well, it's sort of a massage. Basically the bolsters and the seat cushion, they move to make it to make it feel like a massage, to, you know, get your blood running a bit when you're on a longer or shorter journey, whatever. So you have that, for example. Obviously, vehicle info, Mercedes Me app. Now, there are car sharing options for this car, so you can actually configure up to 20 something of your friends, and these friends can use your car as long as you approve their use every time. Now, in order to do that, you will have to leave this key inside. So what about insurance, you wonder? Well, Mercedes tells us that when you go into the car sharing mode, the key is no longer a key, it's just a piece of plastic that needs to be inside the car. And then once your friend gets in the car, then this key has to be present in order to start the car. However, in the car sharing mode, the app is the actual key. So this is one of many things that you can do. Now, the car lets you configure the screen, it lets you configure various modes, so you can have modes, call them moods, whatever you want to call them. So you can have a different mood on the way to work, and different mood when you're going back home. So you get different display, etc. You can all configure that. Other options that this car has, it actually learns the way you do things. It learns the stuff you do. So if you call someone regularly, let's say in the afternoon on your way back home, it will remind you to call these people, whether it's your mother or your whatever sister, brother, etc. So it learns things like that. There are many things this car can do, and I'm sure I will do a separate in-depth video on MBUX once I get my hands on a Mercedes car back at home, when there will be more time to experience this. But for now, wow. Oh, and by the way, did I mention it does voice commands as well? Hi Mercedes.
How can I help you?
What's the weather tomorrow?
Tomorrow it will be sunny in Šibenik with temperatures between 13 and 24 degrees.
Beautiful weather here in Croatia, and there's one more cool thing. Hey Mercedes.
How can I help you?
Tell me a joke.
Sorry, my engineers were Germans.
Yeah, cute little thing. If you do it while driving, it'll tell you it's too busy minding the road for you. Anyway, speaking of the road, let's take this thing on the road, because it's all worthless unless it's also good to drive.
An interesting function is augmented reality satellite navigation. Directions appear on the live feed from car's front camera, so you should always be able to find the right exit from a roundabout. New Mercedes-Benz A Class not only has a modern-looking cockpit, but also state-of-the-art aids straight out of the S Class. Mercedes promises semi-autonomous driving thanks to adaptive cruise control, active lane assist, active lane change, active emergency braking.
All this means that in certain conditions the car should be able to drive almost by itself, keeping a set distance from the car in front, slowing down before junctions and taking some of the turns as long as they're not too sharp. Of course, you always have to keep your hands on the wheel and you have to control the situation around the car. So for example, I can see a car overtaking me now, so I'm not going to put the indicator on. However, I think that even though this is only semi-autonomous, it's still great help when you're fighting traffic on the way home after a hard day at the office. So now let's see how it works. So I'm going to let go of the wheel, put on the indicator, there's nothing around here, and the car changes the lane by itself. And here we are in another lane, and there is another car coming up pretty quickly, so I'm going to change the lane again and let it pass. There we go, it's done it by itself, and it's even taking a turn. This car is overtaking me, and so far everything is okay. Now it tells me to take over, so there has to be some resistance here on the steering wheel. However, we tried it also on narrower, lesser roads, let's say, and it worked there as well. So for example, the system would slow down before a toll booth, and it would also slow down before a turn, which is programmed into the sat-nav. So when the sat-nav is on, the car will slow down before a junction so that you can take a turn, and that way you won't get lost because you see that the car is slowing down for some reason. So that's how it works, and it's amazing to have it in your entry-level Mercedes. I mean, this is no longer a poor man's Mercedes. This is a car with all the latest tech. Mercedes also promises a quieter cabin, thanks to better aerodynamics, first of all, as well as better damping. Optionally, the A Class can be equipped with active damping, and this one actually is. Also, the body is more rigid, which, according to Mercedes, also helps to reduce noise and vibration. And so far, let's face it, the roads aren't that bad, so I haven't heard anything suspicious coming from the suspension. As far as wind noise is concerned, on the motorway there was some wind noise, but again, today is a windy day, so it's like I'm driving a lot faster than I'm really driving. Now, what about the drivetrains? The new A Class can be powered either by the new 4-cylinder 1.33 liter petrol engine producing 163 horsepower, or a 2-liter 224 horsepower petrol engine, or a new generation 1.5 diesel, which was developed with Renault. Of course it was.
Both petrol engines now get gasoline particulate filters. The 1.33 engine also has cylinder deactivation. This engine too was developed in cooperation with Renault. The 2-liter engine gets Camtronic, which is Mercedes' intake camshaft adjustment. As far as the 1.5 diesel is concerned, Mercedes says its engineers developed their own engine mounts, 2-mass flywheel, DCT, alternator and AC compressor, as well as ECU with software and stop and start system.
Besides the least powerful petrol engine, which can be had with a manual or with an automatic, all other cars come with 7-speed DCT, at least for now. And today we are driving the least powerful 1.33 liter, okay, they call it 1.4, petrol, 163 horsepower, and it's fine. It's not good if you say something is fine, is it? Well, it's got a lot of, let's call it, low-end grunt. That's how motor journalists call it, and It's easy to drive around the city and it's fine on the motorway as long as you're not doing anything crazy. Because if you wanted to accelerate, and okay, we're doing it downhill, but just listen to this. This is not the kind of sound you want to hear from any engine, and especially an engine in a Mercedes. I understand that probably they're keeping all the best sounds for the AMG when it arrives, but it just sounds strained, even though it doesn't feel strained. That's what I can tell you about this engine. Okay, now we are going on an almost straight bit of road. Let's step on it again. I'm doing 40. There is a 90 kilometers per hour limit. It's going. The pickup is very good. The pickup is very good. It's just the sound that's not very pleasant. But then again, most of the time you'll be accelerating down from low revs, and in this department this engine is absolutely fine. All models get McPherson struts in the front, and the most powerful version gets multi-link rear suspension. Lesser cars like this one get a twist beam rear suspension, and it's fine. I'm on a twisty road here and I'm having enough fun, to be honest. The steering is surprisingly engaging for this sort of a car. I was really afraid that with all the tech gizmos and with all the semi-autonomous driving thing that it's going to be numb, but it's actually pretty good. I'm really pleasantly surprised here.
In autumn 2018, there is also going to be a new version of 4MATIC all-wheel drive. Changing driving modes will also impact the characteristics of all-wheel drive system. New 4MATIC will be electromechanical versus electro-hydraulic like it was in the past.
One minor annoyance is that as standard, the new A Class gets halogen headlights and LED day running lights. Halogen, seriously? Probably it's only to persuade everyone to go for the optional multi-beam LEDs, which adapt to road conditions. This is not going to be a cheap car.
Speaking of headlights, area around them is additionally sealed for better aerodynamics. This and several other tweaks helped reduce drag coefficient from 0.26 to 0.25. Prices of the new A Class start at around €30,000. You can choose between standard, style and design, progressive or AMG line trims. Each can be further personalized, but for me, the A Class is all about high tech.
Let's face it, cars today sell not just because of the engine and performance, because we spend a lot of time in traffic. It's tech and design that matters, and Mercedes delivers in that department.
And how do you like the new A Class? Let me know in the comment section below. Subscribe if you haven't, share this video with your friends who may be looking for a new car, and press that bell icon to get notifications every time I post. New reviews every Friday. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.